Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. A very interesting article, and this article reminds me of the two other events, and that's Second World War and Siege of Masada. If you're familiar with Israeli or Jewish history, you might, or Roman history, because they're together in that one. That was a siege of Masada. I will go over that. First, let's see how I make a connection between Ukraine, Second World War, and Masada. All right, let's see. Let's start with this guy over here. Now, this article comes from the Ukrainska Pravda, Ukraine's Interior Ministry forming volunteer assault brigades known as Offensive Guard. When I read this volunteer assault brigades, I remembered this. You know what this is? Or if you don't know yet, I will let you know a little bit later. Now, this comes from February 2nd, 2023. And I'm not trying how should I say, I'm not judging this guy's decision or the volunteers, because they are defending their country. I'm just making a contrast of how this is seen versus other events in history. And that's why I'm saying when you have standards or you have principles, the principles, the standards, the values cannot be situational. So you use them in one example or one situation, but you don't use it in another one because you don't like whatever, they were your enemies or something. Like value or courage. Courage, it doesn't matter, who. Courage is courage, regardless who does it. An enemy, an ally, a good person, a bad person. Anyway, so Ihor Klimenko, acting Minister of Internal Affairs, has said that Interior Ministry has begun forming assault brigades known as Offensive Guard to strengthen the defense forces and liberate the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. For me, this paragraph translates as disillusion and desperation. Desperation, that's what I read in this paragraph. That means the situation is really bad. Quote from Klimenko, the decision to create assault brigades was made by our employees who have enough rage to beat the enemy. So that means people, said, you know what, I want to take arms and just go and fight the evil invaders. 100% with them and justified. Because for them, that guy invaded their country, their motherland, and the hell with it. Okay, with that being said, let's move on. Many of our servicemen who had defended and are defending our country came up with the initiative to recruit people to such units. Okay, I'm for it. But then how about this? All right, and then how about this? Again, this and this. These were bad things. Now, this is a good thing. And a good thing that they are defending their motherland. But the bad thing here is that, they have to do this, the ultimate sacrifice for their country. So, therefore, it was decided that all those who are willing, who are patriots, oh my God, don't use that word. You can't use that word. In America, that word is a synonym to something else. When Trump used that word, oh my God, no, it was like he said, I'm this. My God, we have already started forming units that are aimed at liberating our territories and reaching internationally recognized borders. Good. All right, are aimed. Good. Details. According to Klimenko, the basis of these units will be active police officers, border guards, and National Guardsmen. Quote from Klimenko. First and foremost, these are people who went through the crucible of 2014-2015, some of whom fought as early as 2022. Some of them are injured. The units will consist exclusively of volunteers. All right. Details. Some of this could have been fighting in the First World War, just so you know. So 2014. Or they can submit an application. The candidate must pass a military medical commission as well as a psychological and physical test. Okay, well, we'll see when things get a little bit more desperate. I hope they don't. You're gonna waive that. Klimenko noted that all soldiers in these brigades will get the benefits that are available for military personnel and police officers. All right, so they will train them and they will move on to performing combat tasks. All right, so these guys will go and fight. Now, these guys did the same thing. They were under siege, Berlin. They are old people defending their motherland, and you can call them bad people, you can call them on the side of the evil, you can call them however they want. They didn't care about Hitler or anything like this. These guys cared about their family and their lives, the motherland. Well, and this right here, I wonder that these guys are going to get to that point. I hope not. That was bad. This was bad. All right. This was bad. All right. So we know that one. But let's see what are we doing here with Masada. What is Masada? The Siege of Masada. The Siege of Masada was the first Jewish-Roman war that occurred in the 72 to 73 Common Era. All right. And it was right here a fortress that the Israelites just, got over there on top of this mountain, and the Romans were around, surrounded it, and said, now we're going to you up. Basically, that's what it was. And they decided to commit mass suicide. Let me read you here. The siege is known to history via a single source, Flavius Josephus, a Jewish rebel leader captured by the Romans, in whose service has become a historian. According to Josephus, the long siege by the troops of the Roman Empire led to mass suicide of the Sicarii rebels and resident Jewish families of the Masada fortress. So they committed mass suicide over here. Now, I don't know how you would look at this. I look at it as, you don't want to fall in the Romans' hand and become a slave or raped and all that. 960 people dead, 7 captured, according to Josephus. Okay, so I wouldn't be a slave. I wouldn't want to go through that. I will commit suicide, right, by these guys. Now let's see the legacy. How is this seen? The siege of Masada is often revered in modern Israel as a symbol of Jewish heroism, which, yes, I agree with that. Masada, and according to Clara Palotai, Masada became a symbol for a heroic last stand for the state of Israel and played a major role for Israel in forging national identity. Very good. All right. To Israel, it symbolized the courage of the warriors of Masada, the strength they showed when they were able to keep hold of Masada for almost 3 years, and their choice of death over slavery in their struggle against an aggressive empire, which was the Roman Empire. All right. So it says, the same person, Paulo Tai, states how Masada, and I'm quoting, developed a special love affair with archaeology. Okay. Now, obviously, I will say something that is going to be, I don't know. Well, they committed suicide. And I agree. Under the circumstances, what? Do you want them to be raped and, terrorized and taken in slavery? No, that would have been a bad outcome. Good or bad, all right? Good or bad, that would have been the outcome. Now let's move to another story. Remember the Goebbels? Joseph Goebbels, the chief of propaganda under the German government, since we are still here, the Nazis, the Nazi. Now, remember that he and Magda Goebbels, his wife, they had 5 children. Remember that one? In the bunker in Berlin. They were surrounded by enemy forces, the Soviets. Remember that one? And what did they do? They did something awful. They poisoned their children, and then they poisoned themselves and got burned. Now, how do you look at that one? Do you look at that as heroism? Do you look at that as stupidity? Do you look at it as crime? Do you look at that as cowardness? Remember, even Joseph's boss and his newly-wed wife, right? He did the same thing, bam, bam, and boom, boom. And what is their legacy of their act? Cowards. Anyway, we have this problem. We don't have a problem here, but the Ukrainians are desperate. That's what that little article tells me. And they are ready to get almost whomever at this point. Yeah, they're going to have to take those physical tests and all that. But believe me, if this step goes that way, you can see a trend goes that way. The next one is going to be, I don't know, whomever. You're going to drop the requirements. And I'm not, if it's volunteer thing, I'm all for it. I mean, after all, you should be independent and a free person, that you can decide what to do with your life. I mean, that's what I heard. I'm told here that I'm a free person, and so they are in Ukraine. It's unfortunately got to this point, which I always said this war in Ukraine could have been avoided. But we are at it, or they are at it with these guys, and what can we do to stop it? Well, the first thing is, I would say, stop the whole thing, which it's hard, and then sit down and talk and look at the realities. The problem is they both think, both sides, not both being Ukrainians, I'm not considering Ukrainians only, I'm considering NATO countries and all that, they think that they will win. And the other guys, the Russians, think that they will win. So why should they negotiate? And when they're going to negotiate, they can't start from much, because they say, well, a second, why should I give in or negotiate this with you when I think I'm going to take it without negotiations? Like, let me take over and, basically destroy you, and then I don't have to negotiate. I don't have to give you anything. That's how both sides look at it. This guy says, well, we're going to take care of you, Russia. We're going to weaken you to that point. There's going to be a regime change, or the country will disintegrate from within, or, something like that. Therefore, we don't have to negotiate with anybody. We take everything we want to take, and we make a new world, and free, beautiful world. Or the other ones think, no, we're going to make the other guys, outspend themselves, and then say, okay, that's enough. The population, the standard of living in Europe and United States will decrease to such a point where you're going to have mass demonstrations, and then they will force the wizard politicians to change course, and therefore we say, hey, okay, let's talk. And the Russians say, no, don't talk, let's do it. Let's talk. Okay, we talk. Why? Because at that point the Russians will talk from a strength point, not from a weak point or an equal. So they're waiting right now to see who's going to have the upper hand. And then I say, hey, how about we negotiate? But when we negotiate, I'll be the one I'm going to impose to you. So unfortunately, that's what it is. Remember, those elderly people over there, and the Hitler Youth and Masada and the Goebbels, they're all tragedies. Tragedies. And what bothers me is that those tragedies were determined by others. So there were just a few, who determined that those tragedies will occur. A few, leaders, a few countries, not countries overall, leaders of countries, military personnel, interest, financial interest, and they got that. They got these people right here in Ukraine to go and fight. They got those Hitler Youth to go and fight in Berlin, if you remember, in Berlin. They got those old people to fight over there in Berlin again. Those, a few people. It was not, the situation they were dragged in. Yeah, they supported certain things. They probably have their, part of this and part of that. But on the other hand, you can't blame everybody. Because you can't blame, United States of America's citizens because, let's say, Harry Truman dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian cities. You're not going to say, hey, U.S. population is guilty of that and they're war criminals or something like this. You're not going to do it because the decision was made by a few guys over there to commit that thing. All right? So same here. What are you going to do with those old people over there? Yeah, they supported probably the system, in Germany, but the same thing. Do you know that? I don't know that. At that point, they were it's them or the other ones. What are you going to do? do like the people did in Masada, fought 3 years, for 3 years, and then they say, well, no more, no more. We don't have food, we don't have water, we don't have anything. We're just gonna give up, and made their prayers, and ba-bam, boom. And the Goebbels is the same. Not putting them on the same part. Don't start with bullshit. Anyway, this is what's going on in Ukraine. I think is tragic. Desperation is setting in. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.